Breaking news out of Washington. Right now, President Biden is hosting President-elect Trump at the White House. It is their first face-to-face meeting since Trump's sweeping election win. It's meant to highlight the peaceful transfer of power and send a message to the world. They spoke briefly to reporters at the start of the meeting just last hour.
Politics is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much. A transition that's so smooth, it'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Jim.
You're welcome.
This comes as Mr. Trump continues building out his second administration. He made a flurry of announcements just yesterday, including his pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and he's a Fox News host and military veteran. Trump has also tapped Elon Musk as well as Vivek Ramaswamy to head up a brand new agency called the Department of Government Efficiency. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez is following all of this for us right now. Gabe, it was interesting seeing this flurry, as we called it, of announcements coming through. There's a tradition of sitting presidents inviting their successors to the White House, but that did not happen 4 years ago when Trump lost. So give us some more context on this meeting today, why it happened, and who was with them.
Hi, Morgan and Vicki. Good afternoon. Well, yes, as you said, this did not happen 4 years ago, but it was important for the Biden administration, they say, to show the American public what a peaceful transfer of power looks like. And you just saw right there from that brief video, just a few seconds long, about just under a minute, where reporters were led into the Oval Office. That meeting is actually, as far as we know, still underway, nearing 1 hour here in the Oval Office behind me now. This did happen. This meeting happened with Donald Trump and former President Obama, of course, back in 2016. That meeting went on for about 90 minutes. We don't know how long this one will end up taking. We are hearing, though, from a senior White House official that White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients, as well as incoming Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, are also in this meeting. And we had expected President Biden to talk about his priorities in his last few weeks for the administration, including making the case to Donald Trump about continuing aid to Ukraine. Two people who are not at this meeting, however, J.D. Vance and Kamala Harris. Morgan and Vicki.
You know, Gabe, we're also hearing that Special Counsel Jack Smith is planning to step down before Trump takes office. His team, we know, has already trying to wind down those 2 federal criminal cases against the president-elect. How does this happen? Does he leave any sort of report behind, or does he just disappear and the cases disappear as well?
Yeah, that's right, Vicki. We are hearing that from a source close to the matter, and not exactly unexpected. President-elect Trump has said before that he planned to immediately fire Jack Smith if he were to come into office. But as we understand that, Jack Smith is required by law to submit a report to Attorney General Merrick Garland detailing his charging decisions. The looming question right now is whether the Attorney General will make that report public. Vicki and Morgan.
All right, Gabe Gutierrez live at the White House for us. Gabe, thank you.
Meanwhile, let's head over to Capitol Hill, where Senate Republicans are huddling behind closed doors to elect the chamber's next majority leader. 2 sources with direct knowledge of that situation tell NBC News that Florida Senator Rick Scott is out after the first ballot.
Meanwhile, in the House, there are 8 key races that have yet to be called. Republicans need just 2 more seats to secure a majority. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitali joins us now from her post. So, Ali, let's talk about the dynamics at play here. Who is the front runner now that Scott is out?
Much of this news, Vicki, coming into us in real time. So if you see me looking down at my phone, it's because we've got our ever-active Hill team chat about what's happening inside behind closed doors as senators are on their second balloting round, voting by secret ballot, now down from 3 contenders on who will lead them to 2. It is now between John Thune and John Cornyn, and I'm actually being told now that our team has confirmed that it is John Thune who has won the Senate Majority Leader's race. He will now succeed Mitch McConnell, who has led these Republican senators for nearly the last 20 years. McConnell with an 18-year tenure atop this. And it marks a new moment for the Senate Republicans as Trump comes back to town, as they now have Republican control at both sides of Pennsylvania Avenue. And it also marks a real evolution for Thune himself, who has been a Trump detractor at some times over the course of the last several years, but who has worked over the last several months to patch up his relationship with the president-elect. And now they will all, it seems, march in lockstep towards January when Trump assumes the White House once again, and they can begin to enact a Republican agenda.
You know, Allie, all of this is reminding me. Remember 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, when it took House Republicans 15 rounds before they were voting and they elected Speaker Kevin McCarthy. You were there. We were talking. Could we see something like that happen again this time in the Senate?
I think many of us remember the battle wounds from that. And look, the Senate is a very different body than the House. Senators will like to remind you of that quite often. So this is a leadership election that is basically one and done at this point. They know who is going to lead them come January when the official balance of power turns over. On the House side of that building, we will see. You know, at this point, Mike Johnson, the Speaker, just in the last few hours, received the public endorsement of President-elect Donald Trump. That goes a long way on both sides of this building, but especially within the House Republican Conference. But that doesn't mean that it's not potentially still a bumpy road over on the House side of this building. Mike Johnson is going to have to, as Speaker at the end of this Congress, deal with government funding. That has proven to be a thorny issue, not just for Johnson as Speaker, but for Kevin McCarthy before him. A lot of time can elapse in Congress between now and that January 3rd vote that should secure Johnson the speakership. That's where we went 15 rounds last time, and that's what we could be, depending on how things go, in for once we get to that point in the calendar.
Well, luckily in this business, we are built for bumpy roads. Ali Vitali, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.